Welcome everyone to the Expertise Workshop. Today I'm really pleased and honored to introduce to you our speaker, Scott Keyser, also known as the Writing Guy. Scott has been doing writing work for over 30 years, and he's worked for Ernst & Young, PricewaterhouseCoopers, The Economist Group, and in 2004 he set up his own company, Write for Results, to help professionals write better and win more business. He's also written two books, Winner Takes All and Rhetorica, which I highly recommend. Don't know if you can see it. It's here. And I think most of the teachings today will come from this book. What I love about Scott is that he's not going to be giving us a lecture on grammar. Is that correct, Scott? So today's session is going to be very practical stuff that we can use in everyday's life, as professionals, when you're writing your social media posts, your blog post, your newsletters, your sales page, and yeah, you will sound more like you and less like ChatGPT. So, Scott, over to you.
Great. Thanks very much, Safa. That was a great introduction. You actually said word for word what I was going to say. So you've saved me a couple of minutes talking about myself, which I don't like doing anyway. So well, hi everybody. Let me share my slides with you. Be good if I could find them. Here we go. Right. Okay, can everybody see that? Yeah. So, just to make sure that you are in the right place, and this is, as Safa said, this is not a workshop on grammar. Um, Having said that, there are a couple of pieces, sections where I go into a little bit of grammar, notably the active and the passive voice, but that it won't be too onerous. Yes, as Safa said, as you might expect of somebody who calls himself the writing guy. Any self-respecting person would have to be published. So I've written a couple of books, both available on Amazon. I also had my first book of poetry published last year, which is exciting. And I'm already working on volume 2 for that. And as Safa rightly said, I've done my kind of corporate bit. I was with Ernst & Young for 6 years and PricewaterhouseCoopers for 3. And believe me, I have the scars on my back to show it as well, the corporate world. So yes, anyway, my books. And the one that's relevant to us today is the one on the right, which is called Rhetorica, a toolkit of 21 everyday writing techniques. And this book serves as the basis really of all my training. So let's have a look at the writing system that I've developed. And this has been effectively 22 years in the making. So since 2004, I've trained over 5,000 what I call technical professionals, lawyers, accountants, engineers, consultants. And on the back of that experience, well, I wrote the book in 2016, which is 21 techniques. But I always felt a bit uncomfortable with that number of techniques. And so 3 years ago, I scaled it down to 15, hence the Rhetorica 2.0 writing system. And you can see on the screen that there are 3 sections or parts or elements to the system. So there are 5 planning techniques, 5 drafting, and 5 editing. And that in and of itself may be a revelation to some people. Because what I observe a lot of people in business doing is diving straight into drafting without planning. They use the drafting process to clarify their thinking, which is an enormous waste of time and energy because that's not what drafting is for. That's what planning is for. And while they're drafting without having planned, they also do a bit of sort of half-hearted editing. And I call this a pretty gross abusive process. So one of the things I'd really like you to take away from today is that these three, we need to honor and respect each of these three stages, if you like, or steps in the process, and treat them as distinct and separate and structured and be very conscious about them. So when we're planning, we're not doing anything else. We're not, looking at our Facebook feed. We're definitely not drafting. We are just planning. When we're ready with our plan, then we move very advisedly into drafting mode. And that's obviously about creating sentences and weaving them into paragraphs and the whole document. And only when we have our first draft should we then very consciously sort of put on our editor's green eye shade and start editing and checking our work. Okay, so and you can see as well that there are 5 acronyms for each of the sections. So, and I'll explain what they are in a minute. Storm, Scott, which I'm particularly pleased with, and Strap for editing. So let's have a look at the 15 techniques. So what I'm going to do is just give you, we're not together for very long. I'm going to give you an overview of the whole system. And then what I plan to do is drill down into 4 or 5 drafting techniques, if that's all right. So the planning techniques expressed as STORM are effectively structure, timing, objective, reader, and message. So those, for me, in my experience, are the 5, if you like, primordial elements of planning. They're classic. And some people may say, well, that's pretty obvious, but actually, in my experience, most people, if they pay lip service, most people pay lip service to planning, and they do it badly if they do it at all. So planning, ironically, is actually the most neglected, but I think the most creative part of the writing process. And the reason for that is we're thinking divergently. When we're planning, we're just sort of brainstorming and we're being creative. We're making a list of all the things we might talk about. We're reading articles, we're doing our research, we're speaking to people. It's divergent. The brain is in divergent, expansive mode. When it comes to drafting, we reverse that, and the brain then goes into convergent mode, where we're having to choose that verb or that noun or that adjective and weave them into a sentence. So the mindset that we adopt between planning and drafting and then editing is very different. So what are the 5 drafting techniques? And I've made them bigger because that's what our focus is going to be on today. Expressed or summarized as Scott, you can see for yourselves, they stand for shorten your sentences, cure Nounitis. Anybody hazard a guess as to what Nounitis is? Feel free to unmute. And anybody know or think they know what Nounitis is?
Is it
Is it over-explaining?
Sorry?
When
Sorry,
there is
Alfredo?
no flow, when there is no flow between subjects, a continuum?
That is one of the effects of it. Nounitis is very, very simply the overuse of nouns,
Okay.
particularly of abstract nouns. And I'll be giving you an example later on, but just and sort of this is about as grammatical as I get. What's a noun? It's important we understand the difference between a noun and a verb because we cure nounitis with verbs. So what's a noun? How do you define a noun? Anybody?
Like the name of something.
Yeah, absolutely, Michelle. It's a naming word. So people often say, well, it's a person, place, object, or thing, and an idea as well. Freedom is a noun, chair is a noun, person is a noun. But a really easy way of remembering is a noun is a naming word. And the trouble with nouns is they just sit there naming stuff, but they don't really move the narrative along. They've actually got very little energy. So we cure nounitis by using more verbs than nouns. And what's a verb?
Action.
Yeah, it's a word of action or doing. Yeah. So that's nounitis, and we'll be going into more detail later. Number 8 is omit needless words. And when I'm reviewing people's writing, one of the most common marginal marks I put, i.e., a mark in the margin, is NL, needless. Most B2B writers use words that add no value, meaning, content, or information. They don't need to be there. So you can safely remove them without changing the meaning or the impact in any way. And so number 8 is how we write concisely. Number 9, trust in plain English. Anybody know what plain English is? Just kind of high level sort of definition.
Clarity. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, clarity is one of the effects of plain English, but basically, and again, I'll go into more detail later on, but we have this idea of register. So register is a scale of the formality of your writing. We have formal at the top and slang at the bottom, and slap bang in the middle is good old plain English. It's simple, conversational, everyday writing. So everybody, 99% of your readers get it in one go. And that, by the way, is a pretty useful definition of clarity. So what's the definition? Given what I've just said, what's the definition of clarity? How do we define clear writing?
Simple and understandable.
Simple and understandable, and what I just said a couple of minutes ago, writing that's so clear your reader gets it in one go.
Mm.
That's really crucial. Because if we make our readers reread and reread and reread, what are they going to do? They're gonna go. They're gonna leave. Maybe never to revisit our writing. Yeah. And then number 10, Safa, you raise your hand.
Yes, I wanted to ask you, sometimes I do reread paragraphs
Mhm,
or sentences in books.
mhm.
Is that a problem coming from me not being able to understand, or is it the author not making sure it's clear to the reader?
It depends. What is the book? Is it a novel or a business book?
A novel.
You see, novels are different. You've gone into Waterstones or W.H. Smith's or wherever, and you've paid money, you've invested money to buy that novel. And if you particularly love the writer's style, you want to indulge in that and savor it, and you'll reread and go back and. But when you receive an email or a sales letter from somebody which is unsolicited, you're not going to give them the same indulgence, are you? You're going to be much less forgiving of their writing.
Mm.
And so therefore, as B2B writers, we've got to convey our message in one go. Yep. And,
Okay.
and hopefully after today, I will have given you some techniques for doing that.
So we can't be poetic in business, basically.
Well, okay, now that's a very interesting question. I do believe in elegant writing, but not at the expense of meaning or impact or brevity. Yeah, or clarity. Because I mean, a couple of years ago, I translated a fridge freezer instruction manual into Shakespearean language. It was very beautiful, but nobody's going to read it. Nobody's going to understand it. Do you know what I mean? So while we do need, I mean, it's an interesting question. While we do need to be aware of the rhythm and the cadence of our B2B writing, primarily our main goal is to get our meaning from our heads into the readers, right? That's the primary objective.
Gotcha.
And then technique, sorry, I hope does that
Yes,
answer the question? Is that all right?
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And then technique number 10 is turn passives into actives. And that's, if we have time for it, that's as grammatical as I'll get. So now we've done our drafting, and now we need to very advisedly and deliberately move into editing. And the acronym for that is STRAP. Score your readability, which I will be showing you. There is a function in Word that allows you to score the readability of your writing and other people's. Okay. Test for structure. Structure is vital. Number 13 is one of my favorite techniques because it's so simple. As writers, if you like, hopefully after this workshop, you will be closer to being professional writers. Every professional writer reads their writing out loud. Why they do that is because they will be able to, it enables them to hear how the writing will sound to their reader and make them feel. Every one of you absolutely must read your writing out loud, audibly out loud, before you press that great big send button. Yeah. Every professional writer does it. And then finally, once we've done all that, the very last thing we do is proofread. We can't afford to have typos in our bid or our sales letter or our response to an RFP or a pitch or whatever. So those are the 15 Rhetorica techniques. Do they all make sense? Is there anybody to whom they do not make sense?
Yeah, just one point maybe regarding 10, turn passive into active. So I tend to, to not to do that systematically. That would depend what I want to emphasize, right? So sometimes
Sure.
I would use the passive word because the things I'm talking about, I don't want to specify who is doing that.
Sure.
So
Okay, well, you actually conflated two things there. You're absolutely right. That the using the passive voice allows us both to hide who has taken the action, which can be useful, particularly if we want to be evasive or fudge accountability. And the second thing it enables us to do, as you quite rightly said, is to emphasize the subject. And I will give you a bit more detail on that.
Okay.
Yeah, great. Okay.
But also, I think Monaim, because in French language, we use it a lot. It's not like in English, but it's very common to even talk that way.
Yeah.
Right.
Is it? Okay. Well, I mean, I think it is in English as well. Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully that will become clearer if we get to that. Okay. The poll, in your poll, you told me, or you told Safa, that you need to grab the reader's attention, and I've added you need to keep it from the very first word to the final word. You need to write clearly and concisely, and I would add to be compelling. What I mean by compelling, so those are the three C's that I really swear by. Our writing needs to be clear, concise, and compelling. And by compelling, I mean it's writing that is so engaging, it drives the reader to the destination that you want. And then thirdly is about storytelling. You could spend a whole day talking about storytelling. We're only together for a very limited time, but I'm going to share with you the 4 vital elements to any great story. Okay. All right. So 9 ways to grab your reader's attention. I'm going to run through these quite quickly. Number 1, the tried and trusted is the question. So the idea is that by asking a relevant or engaging question, we engage the reader. Here's some examples. I don't know whether any of you invest in Bitcoin, but it's dropped to the value has really plummeted. Bowel cancer in young people is going up, particularly in the UK. Nobody really knows why. And how high will sea levels actually rise? Some very cheery subjects there, but simple examples. The second way to grab the reader's attention, and by the way, we're speaking here about headlines, subheadings, email subject lines, opening statements in a document or an email. And I've got a question. Why is how we open a document or a communication so important? Why is how we open so important?
I guess that's the hook. That's what gets
Yes,
your
yeah,
attention.
that's a very good word to use. We need to hook the reader. It's a bit like we're catching fish. We need to hook them. So a good headline is going to hook them. Yeah. Why else? What else? What are we setting up in the reader's mind by our opening statement or sentence or word or paragraph?
Thinking.
Yep. So getting them to engaging their thinking, getting them to start thinking.
Relatability.
Yes, that's important too, so that they recognize that you as a writer and the style of your writing they can relate to, and they can relate to obviously the subject matter as well. Yep.
I'd say curiosity.
Piquing their curiosity, yes. Yeah, spot on. Yeah.
Expectation.
And managing their expectations. Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
Connecting with your need or your pain.
Yeah, that's very good too. Yeah. So that is actually very, very often neglected. That salespeople, when they're writing, will talk about what they want to say. They'll neglect the reader's pain or challenge or concern. Yeah, so that's I actually know of no better way of engaging a reader than showing you really understand their pain. It's a fantastic way of getting their engagement, hooking them. Yeah. The question, the magic word. Okay, so what is the magic word? Here are 3 examples. We all know what a question is, but what's the magic word in those 3 examples?
You.
You. So the 2 personal words you and your I call magic words. Why?
Becomes personal.
Because they are personal, and they make the reader feel as if you are speaking to them and only them. Yeah. You can't overdo you and your. Okay, good. Number 3. This is where we're giving the reader a command or an instruction. And in grammatical terms, we're telling the reader what to do using a verb in what's known as the imperative mood. Click here, apply now, fix, find out more about. So though all those verbs are in what's known as the imperative mood, we're giving the reader a command or an instruction. Yeah. And typically you'd use this, you'd adopt this only once you'd convince them of the benefits of whatever you're offering or promoting. Yeah. Because they're quite direct. Yeah. Way number 4 is to open with a killer fact, which often involves the use of numbers. You'll probably be aware of this. A child dies. In fact, at the moment, it's 4.4 seconds from preventable causes, but and then a rather shocking figure about the rise in billionaire wealth and its relationship to poverty. And then related to killer fact is using numbers. So numbers quantifying a fact implies authority, precision, and completeness, and reassures the reader that you know what you're talking about. And several years ago, a mathematician called Alex Bellos surveyed about 10,000 people, and 7 was voted the most popular number in sort of white Anglo-Saxon Caucasian culture. I don't know about other cultures. And so, we could say something, whistleblower disclosures up 17%, obviously using the number 7, 37 tips, 7 simple 6-pack exercises. Basically, the idea is that we reinforce our claim by quantifying it, reinforcing it with numbers. Very powerful. And then way number 6 is the twist or the surprise, also known as the pattern breaker. And what this is doing is we're basically leading the reader down a particular thought path, only to right at the end pull the rug from underneath them. So J-Lo and Ben Affleck married 20 years after they first met. Dash, that's, by the way, that's called an M dash, only to separate 2 years later. So you're sort of leading the reader down one path and then abruptly divert them. And that's known as a twist or a surprise or a pattern breaker. Yeah. Safa.
Can we not use a comma instead of a dash?
Yeah, you could. Well, that's an interesting question. Why have I used a dash there, an M dash, rather than a comma? That's to everybody.
It's more of a
create the
matter of
separation?
emphasis.
Sorry?
It's
It
more of a
stands
matter of
out more?
emphasis. Oh my God.
Sorry.
Okay, you guys, if you want to raise your hand, I think it would
Sorry.
be.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, I mean, I think given what that I heard, the M dash is used for emphasis. We use the M dash to give a punchline, whereas the comma would be grammatically correct, but it would lack impact. You're giving a punchline. I'll give you another example. The young boy recognized the old haggard man. Dash, it was his father. In fact, you couldn't use a comma there because that would be known as a comma splice. So you'd have to use a semicolon or a full stop. Yeah, Michelle.
I'm wondering if M dashes are a bit controversial now, because I know that I know a lot of people who have just used M dashes for a very long time in their writing, and in the past year or so, they get the response back, particularly if they're in LinkedIn. Oh, it's nice that AI helped you write this because ChatGPT loves an M dash.
Oh, really?
So I wondered if
right.
you're seeing the popularity of the M dash change at all.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that with ChatGPT. I mean, I love them, but I only use them sparingly. It's like anything, if you overdo it, it loses impact. And by the way, just so everybody's clear, I mean, this is real nitpicking stuff, but an M dash is the long dash, and an N dash, spelt confusingly, EN hyphen dash, is to convey a range of values. So you might say this workshop runs 1600 N dash to 1730. Sorry, N dash 1730. Because it just means to or between. Yeah. So the M dash is for emphasis and a punchline, and the N dash is to convey a range of values. Joanna.
Oh, sorry, there's Amanda before.
Yeah.
Sorry, Joanna.
Sorry.
All right.
Go ahead,
Sorry,
Ross.
you had the hand up.
Okay. I was just thinking about what was just said about the M dash and AI. What I think we're seeing is that so many people are not being taught about the fundamentals of writing, like some of us were in high school and college, that AI has come along and now is writing with a level of sophistication that a lot of people aren't used to. And so they think it's AI, and it's not AI, it's sophisticated writing. And it's what we learned back in the 80s and 90s in college and high school and probably before to communicate effectively. And so there you go.
Yeah.
My measly opinion for what it matters.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's a very interesting take on AI, and that's the trouble with AI. Relying on AI to do your writing is that you don't learn the fundamentals of it. You're actually cheating yourself because you're not building that muscle. You're not building your writing muscle. Yeah. Which is why I suppose it is important to know the difference between an N dash and an M dash, even though you might come across like me as a bit of a kind of grammar geek, you know. Anyway, sorry, Joanna, did I answer your?
Well, it was on the same subject, just to kind of agree with Michelle that it's so controversial. I'm a career coach at the University of Miami, and any resume or any cover letter, I don't, we delete all the dash now because it's potentially coming from ChatGPT. As
Right.
students are not sophisticated writers, any dash would make them feel that they cheated the system. So just, as well,
Okay.
my input in it.
So in that case, in the example I use, the young boy recognized the old man, dash, it was his father, just replaced the M dash with a full stop. You know, job done. You've still got the emphasis there. Yeah, so we need to move on. Way number 7 is the juxtaposition, also known as contrasting pairs. And I love this. I noticed this was written by Annie Krabill, I think her name is, yesterday in the Economist. Even by his loquacious standards, Mr. Trump is having a motor mouth day. What I like about that is that she's juxtaposed there the register between loquacious, which is a formal high register word, and motor mouth, which is slang. And you know what? That's a very good example of typical The Economist writing. So they will do anything to keep their reader engaged. And one of the ways they do that is they bounce up and down the register the whole time. So they'll use remuneration in the same sentence as dosh or wonga. You know, so they'll vary the register of their writing. And this I think is a very good example. Probing the cause of diabetes, one pizza at a time. These are all examples of juxtaposition. And a life insurance product whose headline was cash if you die, cash if you don't. So also known as contrasting pairs is another way of getting the reader's attention. We can play with words as well or use double meaning. And here are a couple of examples. Wake up to the importance of sleep. Now, the Economist one, I mean, I trained the Economist for about a decade, and some of their print ads were, well, should we say legendary? I didn't write the print ads, I have to say, but Sparks and Mensa, does everybody get that? Sparks is obviously about being intellectually sparky, but Mensa is the club for geniuses. And it's a play on Marks and Spencer, the retail store. Yeah. And then finally, the phrase takes the biscuit means it's unrivaled, unparalleled. And obviously that's a play on words. And then finally, number 9, again, much beloved of The Economist, is the headline with a stand first. So here are some examples. The headline, we get the reader's attention with a short dramatic headline, and then we give an explanatory one-liner underneath. And that is known as a stand first. And if you pick up any issue of The Economist, they do that all the time, particularly for their leader articles. It's another way, it's another sort of tool in your armory, if you like, tool in your toolkit for grabbing the reader's attention. Okay, so there you got nine ways of grabbing your reader's attention. Any comments or questions before we move on? All good? Yep. Safa.
So how long should it be?
Sorry,
In
how long
terms
should
of
what?
percentage in the text?
How long should what be?
The hook to grab people's attention.
As short as you can make it for the hook to work. So the shorter the better. If you need to use a 32 word sentence to grab someone's attention as a headline, that's not going to work. You know, a headline and a subheading should be less than one line long, and the shorter the better. Obviously, if we're talking here about opening statements, then your opening paragraph, there's no magic bullet. But in order to set and manage the reader's expectations, I would suggest that your opening sentence or paragraph be really short, punchy, short, concise. And it may be a mini summary of what the rest of the email or the document is about. But it needs to, I mean, I think Alfredo mentioned the word pain. It needs to be majoring possibly on the reader's pain as a very good way of engaging them. But there's no sort of magic rule about, you know, it should be this long. If you need 500 words to explain a concept, you're going to use 500 words. If you can do it in 50, do it in 50. There's no sort of magic bullet to this. Any other questions? No? All good? All right, so let's move on to the S of Scott. Shorten your sentences. What is the problem with long sentences? Why are they an issue?
People stop focusing.
Yep, they may well. Okay, well, they almost certainly do. Why?
It's boring.
Yeah, there's a risk that it's boring. What I think there's an even bigger risk.
The writer doesn't know their subject.
Yeah, that's a huge issue. If you're writing about stuff you don't understand, then yeah, that's a risk. I think what I would say is that the longer a sentence is, the more ideas and information you're giving your reader, which means that you're making your reader's brain work extremely hard from the opening word to the final full stop. The harder we make, I say we because obviously I'm a writer as well, the harder we make our readers work, the quicker we're going to lose them. You need to bear in mind that 99% of your readers will not give you 100% of their brain power. You're lucky if you get 75%. Because they're stressed or they're about to go into a meeting or they're thinking about what they're going to have for dinner tonight, whatever. They've just had a row with their spouse. You are not going to get 100%. And so therefore, the harder you make it for them to get your meaning, the quicker you're going to lose them. Yeah. So now what we need to do is we need to assess, we need to score our ASL, which stands for what? What does ASL stand for? Given what I've been talking about. Average sentence length in words. Okay, so there is, I mentioned right at the beginning, there's a function in Word called the readability statistics and gives you 4 vital numbers based on the work of an amazing man called Dr. Rudolf Flesch. There he is, sadly no longer with us, despite the fact that English was not his mother tongue. He wrote some of the best books ever written on plain English. And he developed an algorithm that gives us 4 really useful numbers. These are the stats. This is how they look on Apple. And I'll show you at the end what they look like. I mean, it's all the same, whether it's Apple or Word, it's the same algorithm. So the very first number is your ASL. your average sentence length, which needs to be between 15 and 20 words. Okay. We've already ascertained that exceeding 20 words is likely to alienate your reader. They'll lose focus and you might even lose them. What's the problem with going less than 15? What happens stylistically when we go below 15 words? Average.
It'll feel very peppered and like staccato, I guess.
Yeah, they're absolutely spot on, Michelle. It's a really nice way of putting it. It's peppered and staccato. You know, this is a big project. It will be based in Mumbai. We hope it will succeed. There's no flow. Very staccato, choppy, peppered. Great words.
It's like
And then
writing in bullet points.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which we don't want to be doing. And then the second number, and this is much neglected, is the average characters per word. This is a barometer for the formality of your writing. So if you when you score your writing, I'm going to get you to do that in a minute. If this number is 5 or above, that tells me one thing, and that is that you're using needlessly formal language. Okay? You're using long, polysyllabic, complicated, fancy-dancy words, whereas you should be coming down the register and use plain English. The next number, which is really the crux of it, based on the work of Dr. Flesch, is your readability percentage. What does PE stand for? Not physical education. Come on, guys, what does PE stand for? We've been talking about it. Plain English. So P starts at 60% readability, but that number there is a percentage, so obviously the higher the better. And then the fourth number is the proportion of sentences in the passive voice, ideally as close to 0 as possible. Yeah, 4 really useful numbers. Okay, so let me walk you through, you're going to do this now. Let me walk you through how you activate these stats. Okay. So what I'd like you to do is launch a document in Word. It doesn't matter, ideally longer than 200 words long. So on your laptop or computer, launch a Word document and just raise your hand when you've done that.
And if I don't use Word, if I don't use Microsoft, can I use?
Oh, what do you use then?
I use Lark Suite, something like Google, but it's not Google.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that. I have no idea whether this works on
Maybe
Word.
in the settings,
On.
man. You can check
Right.
in the setting.
Okay.
Yeah. So just does everybody know how to use the hand emoji? Just raise your hand when, right, thanks. When you've launched Word. Once you've done that, pretty much everybody is there. Once you've launched or opened a document in Word, can I ask you please to go into File and then Options? File usually in the toolbar at the top, and Options I think is down at the bottom. And then when you click on, so now I don't know whether people are raising their hands to tell me whether they've launched Word or whether they've got a question.
Now we follow your instructions.
Okay, great. Okay, so once you've clicked on options, I want you to select proofing. And once you've done that, you should, and I don't know if you can see me on the screen as well. Once you've clicked on proofing, you should see the screen that I'm showing you now, where towards the bottom there's an option to tick or check show readability stats, statistics. Just again, can you raise your hand when you've reached this screen? I don't want to leave anybody behind.
Would you have the same instruction for Google Docs?
I don't think it works on the Google Docs.
Okay.
To be honest with you, Joanna, I've never tried it on Google Docs, but I'm not sure that it does.
Got it.
It only works on Outlook and MS Word and Apple, Apple Word, whatever it's called. Yeah. Right. So is everybody at this screen? Okay. So we've gone Word, open Word, File, Options, Proofing. And now when you reach this screen, is everybody with us? When you've reached this screen, against writing style, that drop-down box must say grammar and refinements. If it says grammar only, it's not going to work. So make sure that says, as on my screen, grammar and refinements, and then I want you to click on the settings box next door. And the reason for that is we need to reinstate the passive voice. For some reason, Bill Gates has removed the passive voice from the latest version of Readability stats. And so we need to reinstate it because overuse of the passive voice is a major problem. So the way this works is that you will have to scroll quite a long way down in the settings option beyond the alphabetical list to clarity. I mean, they change it every time there's an upgrade. But what I'm asking you to do is click on passive voice and passive voice with unknown actor. And then click OK, and all you've done there is you've reinstated it. That means that Word will be on the lookout for the passive voice. Again, maybe it's easier, raise your hand if you have an issue rather than when you've done this. So I'm changing the instruction by exception now. So if you have an issue with this, raise your hand. Okay, so there are no raised hands, so I assume you're all good. And then you click on OK. And now what you need to do is, depending on which version of Word you've got, once you position your cursor at the top of your Word document, you either, in an old version of Word, you do a spelling and grammar check, which is the style I'm showing you now on the screen, or, and I've highlighted spelling and grammar top left, or if you've got a latest version, you will be looking for the editor icon in the top left of your screen, of your Word screen, okay? So you click on that. And when you click on that, you will see you've got an editor score on the right hand, in the right hand column. That is not your readability. That means that you have only dealt with 89% of the issues. So Alfredo, you've got a problem.
Yes, because mine is in Spanish. I don't know if I've got that up.
Oh, okay. Have you been able to follow the process so far?
Yes, I was, but I couldn't find the access in the file, and I guess it's my version. But never mind. Have you heard of the fog index? It's
Yes,
just
I
kind
have.
of
Yeah,
skimming.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You can, if you're familiar with that, you can use the fog index. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But
The only
anybody?
thing is, it's not built into your software, but
Okay.
yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. So what we've got here, if you looking at my screen, you can see I've got an editor score of 89%. That means there are still some issues I need to deal with. So if that is the case with you, so you'll see that underneath that, there are 3 clarity issues. Can everybody see that? All you do, if you've got issues, if Word has thrown up issues in your document, you need to click on that. So you need to, in my case, click on clarity. When you do that, Word then prompts you with options. And for the sake of this exercise, just do ignore, ignore, ignore. Because that means that will get you to the readability stats faster. Okay? Once you've dealt with all the issues that Word has raised, your editor score will say 100%. And then once you've got 100%, you click on the document stats, and lo and behold, you get these readability statistics. Has anybody not got this? Has anybody not, apart from Alfredo, not been able to reach this?
I found it. I found it.
Oh, you found it. Great.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I'm not having Word also. I have LibreOffice, but I found some online tool, data analyzer, that don't have exactly the same thing, but it's
Okay.
pretty nice, yeah.
All right. Good. Great. So what I'd like you to do, if you haven't already done this, is can you make a note of the readability of whatever document you've practiced this on? So what is your flesh reading ease score as a percentage? And if you wouldn't mind posting in the chat your readability scores, I'm just keen to see what they are. Okay, so Annie, you use Grammarly, that's fine, but I'm curious to know, why do you prefer this?
What do you mean why I prefer this? It just takes me one less step to take my, I'm taking my blog post. So usually once I finish with the blog post, I put it in a Grammarly, I go make all the changes and then bring it back.
Okay.
And I usually, I don't try to get it to 100, pain in the ass. As long as it's over 90, I'm happy.
Yeah, well, over 90 is amazing. Over 90 is you're well into plain English.
Yeah.
So Paula, you've scored 94%. That's brilliant. Scott, 69. You're well within plain English. Anybody else? 44.
Yeah, I'm using another tool, but I guess I analyze an abstract that I have wrote some years ago, and
Oh, right.
it is scientific, so there is a lot of
Okay.
there are technical words. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. So out of interest, so is it Munim? Is that your
yeah,
first name? So
Yeah.
Munim, what is your average characters per word?
let me check. 5.25.
5.25. Okay, so that is indicating, you remember I said earlier, 5 and above indicates that you're using long, possibly technical language, which in a scientific abstract is understandable, but just be aware that the longer words you use, the more complicated, then the less readable. But particularly in an abstract, which is essentially, to my mind, like an executive summary. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just be aware of that. It'll be a trade-off and a balance between the two. Yeah. Okay. Well, also on that note, Munim, what was your ASL?
Let me check. So I'm not sure whether they are equivalent to Word, but let me check what I have. ASL, you said?
Your ASL, your average sentence length.
Oh, I have a word per sentence 11.78.
That's very low.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
11 per, yeah. But
That's
again,
very
this
low.
is, this is kind of, I can show you the abstract if you want, but the number of sentences is 32.
Okay.
Yeah, and because it's too technical, other than that, it becomes maybe hard to read. So I don't know.
Okay.
I
Sure.
don't know.
Well, again, I would I'd say this not just to Moonian, but to all of you. You must read your writing out loud. There's no substitute for that. You must.
Mm.
So, Annie, you scored 97%. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Let's move on. Great.
It actually
Now,
just went 100. I just had to
sorry,
make one change.
say again.
It just went 100. I just had to make one
Wow, what are
change.
you writing?
It was my last, it's one of my blog posts. I just picked one of my blog posts.
And you're scoring 100% readability.
Yeah, it's I can see it. I'll be happy to share my screen.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, do you mind?
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
really intrigued. Let me. I'll stop sharing and
Okay. Here.
So Safa, do you
Share
need to give her?
screen.
Are you able to share, Annie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you see 100%?
Yes. On the top right.
Oh, no. That's no. I didn't. Maybe I obviously didn't make that clear. The editor's score is not the same as readability.
So where?
So you go scroll down on the right hand side where you were. Document stats. Click on document stats. Document stats.
Oh yeah.
There.
Okay.
If you've activated them properly, then they should come up. Okay, click OK. There you go. So you've got a readability of just under 50%.
Oh boy, where is that?
Well, as I explained earlier on, so the flesh reading ease is your readability. It's a percentage, 49.8.
Ah.
So you're hitting your ASL of 15.5 words, that's above in the middle. However, your average characters per word is too high at 5.3. Are you following me?
Yes.
And those two things, you've got no sentences in the passive, which is great, but those two elements are driving your readability down. You see what I mean? Does everybody get this? There's the world of difference between the editor score and the readability stats. Yeah? If anybody doesn't get this, speak up now. All good?
Okay, that was awesome.
I was going to say, Annie, amazing. God, well, you should take the chair if you're scoring 100% readability for your blog. I'll go now.
I just was in the wrong place.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I hope that's clear now. Great. I'll thank you, Annie, for sharing. Let me go back to where we were. We need to move on. So, before a couple of caveats, though, with these readability statistics, they're designed to work only on body copy. They don't work on things like headlines and subheadings. And if your document is full of bullets, then you're going to get some weird scores. Okay? They're designed to work on prose, body text, body copy. The other thing is, they work best on a minimum of 200 words. Yep. They are constraints, unfortunately, but if you don't have those constraints, you're good to go. Okay, we need to move on. Right. Remember what's Nounitis again? So what is the C of Scott? It's cure Nounitis. What is Nounitis?
The number of nouns.
Not the number of nouns, but the overuse of abstract nouns. And here's an example. Thank you, Hannon. Could you identify for me, please, all the nouns in that sentence? Maybe it's easier if you put in the chat. So write in all the nouns in that sentence. Yep, specialism is a noun. Yeah, absolutely. So who's the grammar geek here? Amanda. Yeah, absolutely spot on. Specialism, provision, taxation, and solutions are all not just nouns, they're abstract nouns. Okay, and I've highlighted them in red. So remember, what is the cure? How do we cure Nounitis?
So what is
Using
it?
verbs.
Abstract. Why you call them abstract?
Because abstract as opposed to concrete, because you can't touch a specialism, you can't touch provision, you can't touch taxation, nor can you touch a solution.
Okay.
You see what I mean? So
Yeah.
now cure Nounitis by using verbs. Yeah? So can somebody do that now?
Like we specialize in
Yes.
converting, in providing.
Yes. Yeah, taxation solution. So that's right. So Alfredo, very good. See if I can. So we specialize verb in providing, second verb, taxation solution. So we've got two verbs and two nouns. It's more balanced. But there's a problem. The problem is that one of those words in that third version is a sow, S-O-W, severely overused word. And it's a carrier of the Nounitis virus. And it's very simply the word provide. It's a very, very overused word. Every time you use provide, you have to follow it with a noun, don't you? We provide guidance. We provide solutions. We provide advice. We provide briefings. We provide support. So you're banned now from using the word provide. What does that force you to do? Think verbs. Verbs are our friends, guys.
Offering.
You could, yeah, you're just replacing one with the other. Offering is better, though. We specialize in offering taxation solutions. Think verbs.
Why couldn't you just say we specialize in taxation solutions?
Yeah.
You could do, but I want, for the purpose of this exercise, I want to really ram home the message of verbs.
Oh.
What verb is derived from solutions?
Solve.
Solving. We specialize in solving. You've got two strong verbs. Your magic word, taxation problems, challenges, or whatever other weasel word you want to use. Yeah? So the take-home message is we cure Nounitis by using more verbs. Verbs are your friends because they're words of action and doing. Okay? Makes sense? Great. I'm just aware of time, so I'm afraid I'm going to move on. Right, the O of Scott is omit needless words. What does this enable you to do? What happens to our writing? What is the effect of on our writing of omitting needless words?
Being concise.
Absolutely. And what is conciseness, apart from writing that lacks needless words? How do we define concise writing?
To the point.
Absolutely. We make our point in the fewest possible words. Yeah? So where are the needless words in these examples on a daily basis? And by the way, these are all abstract nouns again. They're cropping up.
Basis here is needless.
Yeah. So if the example
Daily.
was, we publish this bulletin on a daily basis, you could just say,
Daily.
we publish daily. 75% saving. This report is, Your Honor, this report is of a confidential nature. This report is confidential. 75% again, saving. We operate in a professional manner. We operate
professionally,
use the adverb, 75% saving. This happens to a significant extent. This happens
extensively.
Sorry?
Extensively?
Extensively or a lot or often. And if you just use the one word often, that's 75% saving. One word instead of four. Yeah. Really easy to omit needless words. Okay. Makes sense? What I'd like you to do is just spend, because again, I'm just aware of time, take 3 minutes to have a look maybe at the document that you've just done the readability stats on and find one needless word and post that in the chat if you would.
Scott,
One
how
needless
about
word.
when you want to put emphasis on a particular idea?
Yeah.
You don't want to make it into just one word because people may skip it. So you want to make it a bit longer so that it catches people's attention.
We don't catch people's attention with length. We catch it with the intellectual power of the idea allied to brevity. And if you want to emphasize a word, what is the proper way of emphasizing a word? Is to italicize it. That's the proper literary way of emphasizing a word. Yeah.
Good point. Thank you.
But they're just building on that stuff. It depends what you want to emphasize. If you want to emphasize a deadline, it's so context specific, but you could say the deadline for submission is midnight on the 12th of April. Full stop. If you miss this deadline, you will immediately be disqualified. I've used more words, but I've made the point, right? I've really emphasized the point. Or I hope I have. Yep.
Right, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so just take a couple minutes to go through your writing. Just find one needless word. One word you could safely remove without changing the meaning a jot. And if you'd be good enough to post that in the chat, that'd be great.
Gabriella, do you have a question?
Yeah, hi Scott. Sorry, I'm just joining late, so I might have missed a little bit of the introduction. I wanted to ask you.
You've missed most of the session.
I missed most of the session, yes.
Yeah.
Or the entirety of the session. I wanted to ask you, why this push for brevity?
Why what, sorry?
Why, above all in English, I think, there is this push for shorter sentences. Because, for example, in Italian, culturally, and I think historically, so we grew up with the idea that the more complicated the sentence is, the better it is, because you sort of see different angles and you can express complexity better. So isn't there a risk of simplifying too much? What do you think?
Well, no, I don't think there's a risk of simplifying. The risk in what you've described of writing long, complex sentences is you lose your reader. There's a real myth that long, complicated sentences are somehow impressive. Is it impressive to lose the reader? I don't think so. We can still explain complexity using an ASL of 15 to 20 words. An average sentence length of 15 to 20 words. So I think it's the biggest myth of life that in order to be good writers, we need, we're not writing a Dickensian novel. We're trying to transplant one idea from our brain into the reader's brain. So yeah, I mean, if anybody believes that we need to be writing long, complicated sentences, I think it's a myth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Thanks.
Sure. Yeah, so Scott, you've been able to remove the word simply. Paula, eventually, Safa, nonetheless.
Michelle has a question.
Yeah.
It was bouncing off the last comment, and that was whether you would shift for writing academically or for writing essays, whether you would make the sentences longer, more complex, or still kind of aim for that brevity and clarity of argument.
Yeah, definitely the latter. Without a doubt. I mean, my wife worked in the NHS for 35 years. So I've had the displeasure of reading a number of academic scientific papers. And even though I'm not particularly technical, I had to lie down in a darkened room with a warm towel wrapped around my head after reading. I was like, why would you make things needlessly complicated unless you're trying to show how clever you are, which actually has the reverse effect. Because when the reader has to reread for the third and last time what you've written, you're not impressing them one little bit. It's so impressive to write something complicated that the reader gets in one go. Now that's impressive. So I would always defer to simplicity, clarity. Bear in mind, I'm not urging you to be simplistic, but I'm urging you to be simple. There's a big difference. I'm not urging you to write in a childlike way. You're writing for adults. But nonetheless, I'm urging you to write in a way that is easy to understand, no matter how intellectually rigorous the content is. And that's really a big difference. That no amount of brilliant writing is going to dress up or hide poor content. Your content must be brilliant, and then if you convey it simply in one go, then you're off and running. Does that help?
It does. For context, I'm doing a master's. And I think I got into writing very, very simply, but probably lacking, trying to fit things into word count. So it's finding that balance of not making it too complex, not making my sentences too long, but also making sure that every sentence works.
If Francis Crick, and I forget the other guy's name, Watson, if Crick and Watson, who discovered the double helix of the DNA, can explain in 3 pages, then we should be able to explain most things pretty simply.
Yes, my father-in-law, he was a lawyer. He was well recognized for writing in a very simple and understandable way, legal documents.
Yeah, great, good. I hope his writing was celebrated and sung to the rafters, Alfredo. Somebody has said.
Yeah, TD has a question.
TD, yeah. Again, sorry, what is the best readability stat score? Well, the best score is 100%, but that would be the cat sat on the mat. Plain English begins at an FRE of 60%. Passive sentences of 19% is a bit too high, I would suggest. Ideally should be as close to 0 as possible. Yeah, thanks, Annie. Yeah, does that help? Okay, right, moving on. Needless words. Well, are we happy to move on? Everybody clear about this idea of needless words? Yeah, I've given you 4 examples there. There are many more. Okay. So the first T of Scott is trust in plain English. And what I'm showing you here is register, which is the scale of the formality of your writing. Formal at the top, slang at the bottom. And we can use money as an example. If you wouldn't mind, please post in the chat synonyms for the word money. And we'll see what we come up with. So post in the chat, if you would, words that mean the same as money, and you can be as broad as you want. Yeah, moolah, I like that. Yeah, cash. Interesting that cash is the very first word that comes up. Bear with me just a moment. Okay, so we've got some good options here. Cash, moolah, currency, compensation. Obviously, those are more, compensation is more formal. Wealth, dough. That's going to be down the bottom in slang. Income, yeah. Dough, bread, funds, wealth. Fiduciary. I love it. Fiduciary, Amanda. Very, that's almost off the scale of formal. Dinero, dosh, dollars. Money's brilliant. I mean, you've captured a lot. So let me share with you the ones that usually come up. So we've got emolument, and that this would probably be on the similar level to fiduciary, a very technical, formal term. We've got other words: remuneration, consideration, liquidity, remittance, legal tender. Coming down the register, slightly less formal, slightly more everyday: currency, funds. And then coming down towards the middle, salary, and then slap bang in the middle, we have things like words like cash, pay, and wages. And then down at the bottom in slang, we've got lovely words like moolah, dosh, dough, wonga, cheddar, bag. What do you observe happens to the language? And this is really important for us as writers. What happens to the language as we move from the middle upwards, and the middle being plain English? What do you observe happens to the words as we move, as we get more formal?
The length of the words change.
Sorry?
The length of the words change.
Yeah, so the words get longer. They get more
more
complicated.
connected with Latin, right? Latin and Greek.
Yeah, they tend to be absolutely more Latinate and more derived from Greek.
But I have a question. So these are not synonyms, so just they are related, right? For me, it's money, it's not pay, right? So
well, I mean, money is obviously a very generic term, and these are sort of these are subcategories of that generic term.
related, yeah.
Yeah, they're related. They're obviously not direct synonyms, although cash and money are very similar.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, so the words get longer, they get more Latinate, more derived from Greek, they get harder to spell. I never know, I have a blind spot, I never know whether it's remuneration or remuneration. And I'm English, for goodness sake, you know, so I can get it wrong. Something else very important happens to the language as we move up the register. And let me give you a clue. I'll give you a clue. Okay? What is this? This is cash. Yeah? Has a noise. It's real. Can I do that with any of the words in the formal part of the no?
No.
Absolutely. I see, Munim, you're shaking your head, and you're right to shake your head. As we move up the register, the words get longer, harder to spell, more complicated, and less concrete, more abstract, less relatable. Studies have shown that the more formal and abstract your language is, the harder you're making your reader's brain work. And we've already established that most readers don't want to work hard to get your meaning. The harder we make them work, coming back to Gabriella's point, the likelier we are to lose them. And that's the benefit of plain English, the stuff in the middle. Okay? That plain English makes it really easy for our reader to get our meaning. So cash, pay, wages, you can see that they are very short words. And there's a reason why cash, when I run this exercise, is almost always the very first word that comes up. Because it's real. It's everyday. It's relatable. It's concrete. Yeah? Does that make sense? Now, having said that, if emolument or fiduciary are exactly the right term for your technical context, then that is the word you must use. But if all you mean is you're going to get more cash in your pocket at the end of the month, then use the simple everyday equivalent. Make sense? Okay. So the language in the middle is plain English. And I was going to give you a quiz, but we don't have time. So I'm just going to ask you, give me a plain English word or words for each of the following. And just feel free to unmute.
Let's see who's going to be the fastest. All right, let's make it.
Yeah. So number one is henceforth.
Therefore.
No.
No. Oh, henceforth.
No.
So.
Henceforth.
So.
Till. No.
So. It's O.
No.
From
Following.
now on.
From now on. Thank you. From now on.
From
Henceforth
now on.
means from now on. Hitherto.
Up to this point.
Yeah, up to now, up to this point, to date, or so far.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. Assist. Help or aid. Retain.
Keep.
That's right. Transmit.
Send.
Yeah, send. Purchase.
Buy.
Yeah. Eradicate.
Eliminate.
Eliminate.
Get rid of, eliminate. Well, eliminate is one of the eight. So eliminate is all those eights. Abdicate, relegate, decimate. They tend to be more formal. Instead of eradicate, you could say remove, get rid of, rid. Sorry? Yeah. Request. Ask. Simple word. Why use a two-syllable word? Request. We can just say ask. Endeavor, as in the verb.
Effort.
Try. This is the most common one. Utilize.
Use.
Use or apply. Why use a three-syllable word when you can just use one? Use is one syllable. Utilize is three. You ain't going to impress your reader by using utilize. Another sow is significant. What is significant has two meanings.
Important.
It means either important or meaningful. That's one meaning. Or big. A significant gap is just a big gap. If the economist is ready to use words like big and little, so should you be. Yeah? Significant, 4 syllables. Big, 1. Means the same. The only phrase where I would use significant is the phrase statistically significant, which has a particular meaning. And then instead of saying commence from the French commencer, just say start or begin. That's all we mean by plain English. Yeah? Keep it simple, but not simplistic. All good? Okay. Right, I'm going to skip that bit because, well, okay, no. If we are you okay just running over a few minutes? Is that all right? Okay. Does anybody have to go after +5? Okay. I just want to sort of really ram home this idea of plain English. So, you know, what training course will be complete without a 5-letter acronym? CRISP. Clarity. Plain English so clear your readers get it in one go. Readability. Simple words are less taxing on the reader's brain, and that's good news. Your reader, imagine this. This is the analogy I usually make. Your reader is going to give your document a certain budget of brain calories. Once they've exhausted or spent that budget, they're gone. So therefore, the simpler you're writing, the fewer calories they have to expend. Okay? Impact. Plain English in the middle, mid-register language is more evocative, it's more visual, it's more vigorous. It's got more energy to it than formal language. Formal is designed to push people away. That's the purpose of it. Not to impress the reader. When we use formal language, we alienate the reader. Speed. Drafting in plain English is it's faster because it's how we speak. And then finally, nothing kills personality in writing faster than formal language. When we use plain English and we vary our register, then we allow our own authorial voice to come through. When we use formal language, we stop that dead in its tracks. Yeah. And so that's why my go-to style is plain English. All right?
Mhm.
Good. If you don't mind, we don't have time to do passive versus actives. What I will undertake to do is make a short video about this, which Safra, I'm happy for you to share with your members. But I do want to talk a bit about storytelling, if that's all right. So we've covered 4 of the Rhetorica drafting techniques. What I'd like to do now is just talk about crafting powerful stories, and then we'll be done. Okay. From really the time that from when man was first able to create or craft a story, from Gilgamesh, which is kind of 4,000 years BC, Beowulf, Anglo-Saxon, to modern Terminator movies, Batman, Spider-Man. Every great story has 4 elements, and they are protagonist. In other words, that's from the Greek, meaning protoagonistes. It actually literally means the first or original sufferer. But in modern context, it means the hero or the primary actor, protagonist.
Mhm.
That protagonist, and it can be an organization as well as an individual, must face a challenge, technically known as a predicament. It could be a villain, it could be a disease, it could be another organization, it could be a challenger brand, a competitor. Then the third element of any story is narrative. Stuff needs to happen. Things need to change. Things need to be done. There needs to be a setting. Is it set in 13th century heretic France in the Albigeois? Or is it set in the 25th century? We need a setting and things need to happen. And then what is the fourth and final element of any great story? What do you reckon? That any story must have this. That pulls everything together, seals it up. Anybody? Begins with R.
Solution.
Resolution, thank you. So those are the 4 elements of any great story. So the protagonist resolves and overcomes his, her, or their predicament, and thereby grows and develops either organizationally or as an individual. So the kind of the business equivalent of this would be the case study. So your protagonist might be you as the consultant or your client. The predicament is the challenge or difficulty that your client is facing and what that means for them. The narrative is what you as the consultant do or did to help. And the resolution is the final outcome or result and its implications. I've added that in brackets because that's often neglected. So those are the case study equivalents of the 4 elements of any story. Okay, very basic. We could spend a whole day talking about and writing stories. But unfortunately, we don't have that luxury. Any questions so far? Because I'm aware of time. We've overspilt by a few minutes, but any questions
There's
so
a question
far?
in the chat
Question in the
from
chat.
Joanna.
Yeah. Are we not at risk of losing vocabulary, therefore neuroplasticity by using plain English? No, quite the opposite. I mean, I never said you can't go into the formal realms. We can't never use. We're still allowed to use formal language, but what I'm saying is that our default should be plain English. And there are thousands of plain English words available to us. So no, I don't think we're damaging our neuroplasticity. Particularly as, like The Economist, we need to have the confidence to vary our register, occasionally use slang where it's appropriate, occasionally use formal, but the bulk of our writing is going to be in the middle of the register, plain English. So no, we're not at risk of losing vocabulary, not at all.
Any other questions?
So just as a quick recap of the system.
Good. Scott, I have a feeling. Oh,
go ahead.
Go on, please. It's fine.
You have a feeling what?
No, I have a feeling we will need to do part 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
This workshop.
Okay.
So Scott, there is a former president of United States who said they underestimated me. So definitely he didn't follow your class, your course.
So you mean
No.
Donald?
George Bush Jr. So they
well, what did he say? They misunderestimated.
In one word, they misunderestimated me. Yeah, it was famous.
Well, in fact, he has been on a workshop of mine, but he obviously wasn't paying attention at the time.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Don't get me started on American politics. Anyway, but Barack Obama was a great linguist and a great orator. So anyway, just a very quick recap of the system. We've got 5 planning, 5 drafting. I've shared 4 of those with you. And then there are 5 editing and checking techniques, and that is the system. Yeah. Do we have time? I know we've lost a couple of people already. Does anybody have any more questions or comments? Otherwise, we'll call it a wrap.
No.
Are we good?
We're
Yes?
good?
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Scott, for today's session. It was very practical, very
good,
informative. I think we all need to check on one another's writings from now on. I'll be picking on you guys on LinkedIn.
Writing buddies, yeah.
Yeah. So you guys, I put down the link for Scott's book if you want to grab it and really study all the techniques he shared with us today. I will also be putting the replay on our YouTube channel, our expertise YouTube channel, if you want to rewatch or watch the today's session. And again, thank you so much, Scott, for your time.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Being so generous.
Pleasure. Thank you. Nice
Thank
to
you,
meet
Scott.
you.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Scott.
Take care. Good luck with your
Thank you.
writing.
Yeah, thank you. Have a
Okay.
nice one.
Okay. Take
Bye,
care.
everyone.
Cheers. Bye-bye. Bye.